musically. In September 1985, they dropped their debut album, Knee Deep in the Hoopla, with singles We Built This City and Sarah scoring #1 hits in the charts. We Built This City went global, and the album eventually went platinum. So on paper, when the song was released, it seemed to be a runaway debut that set them up for life. However, in the case of We Built This City, these days, that couldn't be further from the truth. Of course you can't please everyone. Even way back in '85, the New York Times slammed the album. A compendium of strutting pop rock cliches, Knee Deep in the Hoopla represents the '80s equivalent of almost everything the original Jefferson Airplane stood against: conformity, conservatism, and a slavish adherence to formula. But the real trouble came a bit later. In 2004, Blender magazine labelled it the worst song of all time, and unfortunately for Starship, well, the name stuck. Scores of articles, videos, polls, and even internet memes slam and ridicule the song. They tear apart the nonsensical lyrics and slam the song as a complete mockery of what the message was supposed to be. The song was actually co-written by Elton John's famed lyricist Bernie Taupin and Martin Page, but they struggled to find anyone who would want to record it. Other bands at the time have come out of the woodwork to reveal that they were sent demos at the time and wouldn't touch it. As best I remember, and we're talking about the '80s so I don't remember much, Bernie Taupin sent me the lyrics to We Built This City so I could write music to it. I called Bernie and said, "My artistic muse won't let me finish the song. Regrets? Oh hell no." As she wasn't the only one, with others not even wanting their name near the song. Our producer brought the demo to us. It's the most pussy thing I've ever heard. Knee deep in the hoopla. Well, even Mark Twain wrote some bad prose. Don't quote any of this. That's from an unnamed member of a successful '80s band. I wonder who that could be. Well, Starship were willing to take it on and had a very particular vision for it. They were going to make money. Grace Slick was the matriarch of the group, and everyone was focused on making her happy. She gave me very specific marching orders. I want to make hits. She told me she wanted to tour, make a lot of money, and then retire. That's how she put it. I think around here is where we see the first problems come in. Rock music and money have always had a complicated relationship. Despite rock stars often making millions, anyone who's ever been seen to chase cash always gets labelled a sellout, a corporate vehicle working for the man. All around, not rock and roll. This might be a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, but I think there is some truth in it. When a band is focused on making a song just for money, it takes something away from the integrity of the music. They're no longer doing it for the love of music, to express themselves or to say something, or for the fans. And that inevitably makes it a bit soulless. Bernie Taupin himself has said that Starship's version was very different from his own demo. Our version was a very dark kind of mid-tempo song, and it didn't have all this "we built this city." It had none of that. It was a very dark song about how club life in LA was being killed off, and live acts had no place to go. It was a very specific thing. A guy called Peter Wolf, a big-time pop guy and German record producer, got a hold of the demo and totally changed it. He jerry-rigged it into the pop hit it was. If you heard the original demo, you wouldn't even recognize the song. Now, I've been digging around, and I don't think this is the original demo, but I did find at least one early demo released by co-writer Martin Page. Have a listen. Yeah, you can see the difference, right? And this is another thing people take issue with. Critics say that the song is massively overproduced, grandiose, and just too much. To be fair, it wasn't the only song of the era to be called as such. This was a changing time in rock music. The analog DIY mentality of the 60s and 70s was coming to an end, and a more digital studio-focused era was on the way. Everything was bigger, louder, and more electronic elements were coming in. Fans of that classic early era were unwelcoming of anything that sounded different to it. And this certainly did. Having built their reputation back then, this new look or new sound version of the band was always going to ruffle some feathers. And this brings us nicely to another thing that sticks in people's teeth. The whole performance and video has been called self-aggrandizing, which is just a fancy way of saying full of themselves. In fairness, this was the '80s. Rockers were pretty out there. and a lot of them were very, very sure of themselves. But the main issue, I think, is in the lyrics. Some of them just don't make any sense. And in the ones that do make sense, there's a clear juxtaposition between the lyrical message and the final product. Marconi plays the Mamba, listen to the radio. Don't you remember, we built this city on rock and roll. What does that even mean? Bernie himself has admitted he doesn't have a clue what it means. Band members have discussed it in interviews, but it was all a bit speculative. Martin Page once said this: Marconi was the first one to send music across the ocean. I saw We Built This City as saying, stop the corporations, we need to play music. Band members have also commented on this, but most of it is inconclusive. Marconi's the guy who invented the radio, and his style of music was the Mamba. But listen to the radio now. Do you hear any Mamba? That's how I look at the lyrics. Things change. I could be totally wrong. Now, let's be honest, they're a long way from being the first band to use nonsense lyrics, but it's still seen as some sort of cardinal sin in the rock world. Despite defending this song in the past, in later years, singer Grace Slick admitted to hating the song and hinted that her heart wasn't in their work at the time. We had 3 songs that went to #1 in the 80s. I didn't believe the lyrics of any of them. Now, that is one surefire way to give ammunition to the critics. She admitted several other things in a similar vein over the years about just going with the flow and not liking the music. In the 80s, we weren't writing our own songs. It was like being in LA rather than San Francisco. I like to write my own stuff or have the band members write their own stuff, and we weren't doing that. I was in my 40s, and I remember thinking, God, this is just awful. It does lack a certain integrity, doesn't it? And then, of course, there's the conflict of the message in the lyrics and what the song became. Because according to Bernie Taupin, the original lyrics were about the bustling club scene in LA being killed off by the music industry, leaving talented performers with nowhere to go. The lyrics were a defiant stab at the corporate world money counters. Someone's always playing corporation games. Who cares? They're always changing corporation names. We just want to dance here. Someone stole the stage. They call us irresponsible. Write us off the page. Who counts the money underneath the bar? Who rides the wrecking ball into our guitars? Don't tell us you need us, 'cause we're the ship of fools, looking for America, coming through your schools. Those lyrics paint a vivid screw the man picture, but Starship's upbeat anthem delivery just didn't match. And what's more, some people feel like they took the song and used it as a self-proclamation, that they had built up the city using rock and roll. It all just smacks of hypocrisy. You're aiming to make smash hit singles with the express intention of cashing in, but you're singing a protest about music corporations that encourage exactly that. I mean, that just doesn't sit right, does it? It exemplifies the problem it's protesting. It probably doesn't help either that the song was a smash hit and did make them millions. The band and those involved have remained ambivalent about the song over the years, sometimes defending it, sometimes slating it, often disagreeing. Despite all the evidence against it, I think the song has also become a victim of a media bandwagon. Someone said the song was awful, and then everybody started looking for reasons why. These things have a way of snowballing. Either way, they did achieve what they set out to do. They made one massive hit, and made millions. Another massive hit from 1985 was The Power of Love by Huey Lewis and the News. And although that song made a lot of money, not much of it went to Huey Lewis. It's a really interesting story, actually, and it's over there if you want to watch it next.